It's that wonderful time of year again when we get to decorate for Christmas. In today's video, I'll be sharing my collection of vintage Christmas decorations with you. If you're from Generation X like I am, you may remember some of these precious Christmas decorations. Almost everything that I'll be sharing with you in today's video was given to me by family members who are no longer with me. And I'm really hoping that I can get through this video without shedding any tears. Originally, I was going to make this video last year as part of my Christmas series, but every time I would start to film, I would start to cry. And I've told myself there is no crying this year. Now let's get started and see how many memories we can spark. Let's get started decorating. First up, I'm going to take you back in time and we'll get started decorating the tree. I like to start off decorating my Christmas tree by putting my shiny bright ornaments on there first. These Christmas ornaments belong to my grandparents and they were used on their tree back in the 1950s when my mom was growing up. The history of shiny brights is that they were popular in the 1940s and 50s. They were made here in the US and they were sold at 5 and dime stores, so they were extremely popular until the 1960s. A few years ago, I found these reproduction shiny bright ornaments and I was so excited. I was at JCPenney's shopping the after Christmas sales with my mom and they were either 75 or 90% off. Before we get too far into the decorating, let's stop and make a simmer pot. I have this Christmas book from 1983 and it has a recipe in it. I'll type up the recipe for you down in the description box. Last year I used just a regular old pot and it worked fine. The only issue that I had with it was I could never get the flavor out of the pot, and anytime we would cook with it we would still taste cinnamon. But that was okay. I decided to just keep this pot and use it year after year and have it to be dedicated to a simmer pot. But then I found something better to use. For my simmer pot, I'm going to be adding a few other ingredients that aren't in my recipe. I'm not exactly sure how all these smells are going to go together, but we'll see how it turns out. This is one of my favorite things to do at Christmas. If you're from the 80s, you might remember the potpourri, is that how you say it? Craze from the late 80s and early 90s. This reminds me so much of that. This is a gumdrop tree and my grandma started this tradition back in the 80s in our family. My mom has one and I have one too. You can usually find gumdrops at drugstores like CVS or Walgreens. I found this old-fashioned thermos at a yard sale for $1 and I think it looks so Christmassy. And it reminds me of growing up during the 70s and 80s. I feel so blessed to have some Christmas decorations that belong to my husband's grandmother. We all called her Meemaw. I would guess these things are from the 70s and 80s. Meemaw was a smoker, so we have her Christmas ashtray, but I think some Christmas candy would look cute in here. If Meemaw was still alive today, she would be over 100 years old. My mother-in-law was one of the most talented crafters that I've ever known. She could crochet, sew, paint, bake, you name it, she could do it. She's been gone 7 years now, and when my husband and I were first married, she gave me a whole box of her handmade crocheted ornaments, and I treasure them. She also gifted me with this set of 3 white birds. I just want to encourage you that if you're a young person who's watching this and your grandparents or aunts and uncles or parents offer you things like this, please take them. You may not appreciate it at the time, but in the future you will be so glad you did. These little metal ornaments are some of my most treasured Christmas decorations. They came from my grandpa. If you're new to the channel, my grandpa was the father figure in my life. I never knew my real father. And back in this particular Christmas, every time he would fill up with gas, he would get a free ornament. And back then, you could fill up your tank for $10. Imagine that. I have a whole collection of them, and they each have a different scene. I'm so thankful to my mother and my mother-in-law for saving some of these precious decorations from my husband and I's childhood. I think ornaments like this on your tree make it extra special. James 1:17 says that every good and perfect gift is from above. These vintage Christmas decorations are gifts from loved ones, and I'm so blessed to have them after all these years. But the real gift was the people that God placed in my life. If you're interested in starting your own collection of vintage Christmas items, be sure to check out thrift stores, yard sales, and estate sales. Those are all great places to look. I was able to find some copycats of the items I'm showing you today, and I'll have those linked for you down in the description box below. It's time to unpack my ceramic Christmas tree. This is an original ceramic tree. My grandma got this in either the late 70s or early 80s, and she gifted it to me. This vintage Santa Claus belonged to my mother-in-law when she was a little girl. So we think it's at least 70 years old. And yes, we do think Santa's face is a little bit creepy. I think it's about time for some Christmas music. We keep our little record player here in this old TV stand. Another one of our beloved Christmas decorations is this old-fashioned nativity scene that was given to us when Meemaw passed away. In this video, I'll be decorating with my vintage Christmas items from family members who are no longer with me, but I'm also going to be using ornaments that the kids made at school and things that I've collected through the years. If any of my vintage Christmas decorations are going to get me emotional, it's going to be these Christmas glasses. If you're from Generation X like I am, you probably remember these Arby's Christmas glasses. And if you're not from the US, Arby's is a fast food restaurant, and back in the 80s when I was a teenager, they sold them at Christmas time. I think they cost 99 cents each, and my grandpa bought me a whole set of them. He bought them one at a time, and sometimes I was with him, and I can so clearly see us sitting in the drive-thru line at Arby's ordering roast beef sandwiches and Christmas glasses. He passed away a few years after that, but I still use these Christmas glasses every Christmas Eve, and I think of him, and he's still with me. What a tremendous gift he gave me. My grandma, who's in her 90s, gave me this punch bowl a long time ago, and I think it's from either the 1970s or 80s. I use it along with my Christmas glasses to serve a Christmas punch every Christmas Eve, and I'll type up that recipe and have it for you down in the description box. So, was I able to make it through this video without shedding any tears? Nope. But that's okay. They're not sad tears, they're tears of remembrance. And it just means that I had people who loved me and I loved them. And that's okay. Friends, I just want to encourage you that your Christmas decorations don't have to be perfect or magazine worthy. As you can see, I don't follow the trends, and I rarely change out my Christmas decor. I think it gives my kids a sense of tradition, and they love to see our family decorations year after year. And as a homemaker, it's such a great privilege to create that cozy Christmas feeling for your family, and you don't need a perfect home to do that. If you'd like to see some more Christmas videos from me, I'll link last year's playlist for you below, and I'll see you back in 2 weeks with a new Christmas video.